I would grind on like the corner of my bed frame and be like, why does this feel really nice? I don't know. Hey babes, you are listening to The Ins and Outs with me, Ruby Rare.
And me, Megan Barton Hansen.
I've been put on the spot just before we started recording. I'm going on a date tomorrow and I thought that I was not organising this. And suddenly now it turns out I am organising this and it's stressing me out.
So tell me, way. Yeah. What's the context?
We've met before. I just basically wanted to be a princess and not organise this. And like, I'm having to come with suggestions. So help me out, babe.
Oh my God, you're beyond asking a single girl in the world.
Beyond like dinner and drinks, like what's a nice date thing to do?
I feel like, I know it sounds so geeky, but like I love an art gallery or something where you've actually got to discuss things, or a gig even.
Mm-hmm.
Well, obviously you'll be in the gig together, you'll be having a few drinks, it'll be fun, but then after you'll be like, oh my God, what was your favourite song? It's something for you to like, I don't know.
Yeah, like you can chat about stuff after. I love an art gallery date, but then I worry that I get a bit pretentious because I get really into it and I'm like, shh, don't talk to me. I'm experiencing culture right now. Yeah, I need to stop taking people to the cinema on first dates because I have a terrible habit of bringing people to the most like bleak, depressing films ever on a date. Like I once took this woman to a film that I really wanted to see, but it's like this, it's about like post-war Germany and these like orphaned children traveling across the country.
It's not Screaming Day, I'll be honest.
And it was a really good film, but the whole time I was like, oh no, we are not fucking today. There is like no way that, you know, the vibes are flowing after this. But anyway, so I won't do that. Okay, maybe I'll look up and see if there's like an arty thing to do.
That'd be cute. I'm going on Saturday actually to this thing in Canary Wharf, and it's like this couple and they're into psychedelics. They do all this art on psychedelics, so
sounds cute.
Have a little look.
Okay. Right. Today we're talking about a topic very close to my heart and very close to both of our genitals. We are talking about the ins and outs of the clitoris.
I'm glad you said that.
Which you don't like the word of, do you, Meg?
I get so shy, guys. I don't know what it is. For me, it's the same as saying moist. The word clitoris.
Does clit feel fine?
Clit feels fine.
So what is it about clitoris?
You know, like them diagrams when you go into the doctors and you can see the whole like vagina just open. That's what it's giving me. It's giving me, wow.
Really?
Clitoris. Hello.
I think we need to rebrand it then. Because medical terms are useful for us because the more we know about terminology, the more informed we are about our bodies. And still people know so little. The common thing is to say vagina when you mean like the whole genitals, when actually everything on the outside, like that's a vulva. And again, people feel kind of weird about using that language because it's like a bit too formal, a bit too medical.
Clitoris.
Throughout this episode, I'm going to challenge you to say it more and see if at the end you feel a bit more comfortable with the language.
Okay.
I feel very passionate about clitorises. I think mine's fab. I'm very happy that I've got to know lots of other people's, and I think theirs are amazing as well.
I feel like mine is my best friend.
Yeah, I feel like if you have a clit, it's your sidekick, basically. So yeah, I think that we need to give a bit more love to clitorises in general.
We do.
But I might be about to blow your mind a little bit, and listeners' minds as well, because so few people know about the actual anatomy of the clitoris. So what do you think a clit is?
Okay, I'm going to try and impress you and be a teacher's pet, but I do know that it's like, it goes down either sides, right? That's all I know.
If you're listening, Google clitoris anatomy and like look at images so that you can actually see, because I think it's really useful to visualize it. The clitoris is about 10 centimeters long.
No way.
Yeah. So we just think of it as like the little bit that's on the outside that's like covered by the clitoral hood for some people. And that is like the tip of the clitoris, in the same way that like the tip of a penis. Like they are basically the same thing.
No way.
In utero, so when we are fetuses developing in the womb, all genitals start out the same. And then at a certain point, I can't remember exactly how many weeks it is, there's like a wave of hormones that determines your chromosomes, which is like one factor of biological sex. And so that will then determine if your genital anatomy grows into a vulva and a vagina and like ovaries and womb, or into penis and testes. But all of the like material that is made of is the same. So like labia majora, same as the scrotum, the like skin on balls. Labia minora is like same as the shaft of a penis. Like the clitoris, same as the glands, like the head of a penis.
Oh my goodness. It's actually the same.
Yeah.
Except theirs is just like sticking out more.
Yeah. And even like if you, the
No.
shaft of a penis, there can sometimes be like a faint line going up it. And that's like what would open up to become either side of the labia. It's so cool though, right?
It's crazy.
Yeah.
I never knew that.
I think if people know that more, I don't know, people like think of vulvas and vaginas and clitorises as like mysterious and like difficult to pleasure and don't really understand them, and like a dick's just a dick and it's simple, when actually like it's all made up of the same thing. I think it kind of equals out in terms of how we think about pleasure, in terms of like just loads of stuff. We're really not that different. And also be it like sleeping with people of all genders, like there's way more variation within like
Each sex.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, like I've slept with people with like such wildly different penises and vulvas.
But what, like, I can't understand. So, like, obviously they look different on like the outside, but like we all have different things that like make us get there quicker. Do you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Even though we have the same anatomy, like why is it for one person this works more? Or do you think it's more of a mental thing?
I think it's more of a mental thing. We all have different things that like excite and inhibit us and make us feel safe to feel desire and to experience arousal. And all of that, like genitals are great, but so much of sex happens in our brains. Like it really, like I cannot stress that enough.
But do you think for men also?
Yeah, for everyone.
Really?
Yeah,
I
and
thought
then-
men were more physical. They're like, oh, it feels good. I don't
No.
care. Like you could have had an argument with them. You could have been like,
I think that's all social, which I think is all in our brain.
really?
Yeah. I think so much of that is around the way that we are socially conditioned, determined by our gender,
Yeah.
in my humble opinion.
That's so interesting.
Yeah. So clitoris, it's the bit on the outside, but then you're totally right. It kind of goes back down into the body. And there are these two like wishbone-y sections that basically circle the vagina on the inside. But it means that so much of the stimulation internally, like if you're aroused and you're having sex and having a great time, what you're feeling is the clitoris, but it's being stimulated from the inside. There's still lots of speculation because there's not enough research on this, but people thinking that the G-spot is kind of like where the two different sides of the clitoris like meet at the top.
Stop. So I thought the G-spot was like so deep inside.
It's not that deep inside. It's like a couple of inches inside.
I didn't even know about all this stuff. I thought the G-spot was like, you know, when like, this is so graphic, but like people put the fingers in and
Yeah.
it's like, and you can feel that like
You've hit a wall.
there. I thought that was it.
There's a C-spot, which is like an area that you stimulate up around the cervix, which is further in. And so people can really enjoy that. The majority of our nerve endings and where we get like pleasure and sensation inside the vagina is in the first few inches.
Can we just tell this to like men? Because I think the pressure on poor men.
Yeah, it's
Like,
that's
that's
why I'm like,
wild.
size really isn't super relevant. Like if you enjoy the sensation of being like really filled, like, you know, having like a big toy or like a big dick inside you can be a really fun, lovely thing. But it's not like the bigger it is, the further up you're getting to more pleasure. Like the majority of pleasure is in the like bottom lower part of the vagina.
Oh my God, we need to tell more people this because I think so many guys get so insecure and feel so much pressure to have like a massive dick, and it's not even that big of a deal then.
No, I have tiny hands and I do all right. When
You have the cutest
when I'm sleeping with
hands.
women, like because actually like you don't need to delve super far. And then, you know, I've got a box of toys for when I need to do a bit more of that. Oh, one thing I haven't said within all of this, like just the same as how a penis like gets erect and becomes like engorged with blood, the clitoris does the same. The inside and the outside, like it is like erectile tissue. So when you experience arousal, Like, same thing as like, if you put a tampon in, you're not going to be like, oh my God, wow, that feels amazing. But then if you're turned on and you're aroused and like a similar size, like someone puts a finger inside you or you use your own finger, that suddenly feels really good. That's because we're erect.
No.
Clits get erect.
So I could actually say to someone, like, sometimes I want to be a bit masculine. So I could actually say, oh my God, you make my clit so hard.
Yeah, we get hard-ons.
That's an actual sentence.
We get hard-ons.
I'm going to say it to someone.
You're welcome. But yeah, where are my other favourite facts? There are around 8,000 nerve endings in the clitoris. And it's kind of the only organ where like the sole purpose is for pleasure. There's some like speculation about if there's an innate like function of the clitoris. I'm on side with the research that's like, no, this is just purely designed for pleasure.
As it should be. I'm not being funny. We have periods. We push babies out. The least we can do is have a little button for pleasure. Like,
or like this whole thing that goes inside. Like, it's this wondrous, I don't know, I feel like I get very like hippy dippy excited, you know, like that teacher that's like, you should explore your body and this is all so amazing. But like, this is such a fucking cool thing to have as part of your body. And yet we don't know much about it. We feel nervous about it. We're taught to feel nervous about like the word itself. Like, there's so much unnecessary shame about this thing that's like designed to make us feel really good.
Yeah. It's like I said, it's my favorite thing that I've got on my body, and I've paid for a lot of plastic surgery, but that is my absolute...
The clit stays just as it is.
She's my babe. But
can I also say something with that's like a bit more serious, but then we have a more happy ending? But do you know about FGM? Have you heard of that before?
Oh my God, girl. The first time I heard about this, where I live, they've got like in the back of the toilet doors, they've got posters, and I saw the poster and it said what it was about, and I just burst into tears. And all my friends were going into the cinema about like 16. I couldn't leave the toilet because I was sobbing.
Babe.
But it's horrendous.
Yeah.
And I couldn't believe that even went on.
Yeah.
Like, it's mental.
It stands for female genital mutilation, which is still a common practice in lots of parts of the world. Like, it still happens in the UK. Like, this is a like horrendous thing. And it's different cultures, it's different religions, but also let's not fall into the trap of being like, it's this religion that does this, or it's this like race of people that does this. Like, I think it's really easy to go into like very bigoted racist territory sometimes when we talk about this from like a white Western perspective. But it's it really varies in terms of practices, but it's like cutting or removing certain parts of female genital anatomy. It's about like bodily autonomy, and this happening to a lot of the time like young girls, and being seen as a rite of passage and a necessity in order to be able to be in like the marriage market, and an expectation that like husbands would have of like their wives' bodies. It's really fucked up, and there's a load of amazing work to kind of destigmatize talking about this and to encourage people to stop this as a practice. There's been a lot of really transformative work in the last like 10-15 years about it, but I used to know like work with people who did a lot of that kind of activist work back in the day. One thing I didn't know, because we are so ignorant about the anatomy of the clitoris and people don't know that it goes inside of the body, depending on like the type of FGM that someone has experienced, there can be restorative surgery where a surgeon shifts the inner clitoris so that some of it sits back outside of the body.
Oh my God, I could cry for these girls.
Isn't that
Stop.
incredible?
Yeah.
But which like, that's sensational.
Oh, no, I could actually cry.
But there's still...
Oh my God, I can actually get it back and have an orgasm. I'm so happy.
But yeah.
Well, I get so emotional. It's just like, it's just so heavy, and I just think it's just so cruel. I know people that have gone through horrific torture, and I think when you look at it or you hear about it, just like, and you're like going about your day and you hear about this, you're like, oh wow, that's sad. But you don't understand the depths of it. Like, to be held down like 12, 13, sometimes as young as 11, have no anaesthetic and have that done to you, it's fucking mental. And like the shame and pain and discomfort that comes after that as well. Like, you're so right. I think it's really easy to think about this as something that happens over there, and that's bullshit. This happens in the UK. This also
like removal of the clitoris has been something that's happened in Western medicine a lot as well. Like in the 20th century, in the Victorian era, when women were like, hysteria was like seen as a medical condition, like removal of the clitoris was like a medical practice as well. So again, it's really easy to think of this as like some, like a different culture or like a foreign thing or whatever. But like there is such a horrendous and traumatic history of controlling women's bodies,
and it's specifically women's pleasure, I feel.
Yeah.
So I had heard that as well in the Victorian times. If people had like bad mental health and stuff, they'll blame it on that. It's crazy.
Yeah. And
I'm sorry to get upset, but I don't know why. It's just a lot.
I guess I think about this all the time, and I'm probably a bit numb to it. And actually seeing you like be that emotional about it, it's stuff that day to day I can just like talk about a bit of like, yeah, and then this happens and this and da 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 da. But actually, like this is fucking real, and all of, you know, it's all very well for us to talk about like the fun side of it, but underneath that always are these big heavy things, which is so much about like a history of controlling and limiting people's bodies and choices, and how shit that is.
And a lot of women and women's pleasure, which I think it's just jarring.
Yeah. And there is lots more work being done around this and more awareness and all that kind of stuff. But again, like it is up to all of us to look at this and engage with it, even when it's really difficult stuff that we might not want to.
Yeah, even when I'm cringing over saying the word clitoris and then we break it down.
Like, we got bigger fish to fry, baby.
I'm so invested in the clitoris.
Yeah. Yeah. My dad's wife is Kenyan, and she's done like worked with lots of people in the past where like going into communities and like working with like the whole community, but especially like the older women who kind of might be some of the people who like normalize this practice and might perform it, and like breaking that generational cycle of that being the thing that happens, like being the first woman in your generation where like you are not going to undergo FGM, like how massive those moments are. And that kind of stuff, like it takes time and a lot of care and commitment, and you can't like fuck just bulldozing in and like a white charity being like, you shouldn't do like this. But like it's amazing hearing stories about like how this kind of change happens. So it does.
That's so powerful.
There are like happy stories in this, which I hope is nice to hear for you. Like,
of course,
being
I'm sorry to get so emotional.
No, also we're both water babies. We should never apologise about crying. Have I cried on the podcast yet? I don't think I have.
No.
You're gonna have to get me at some point. Yeah. Oh, it's a lot, babe.
It's heavy, but I'm glad we're speaking about it.
Me too. I mean, I want to do a whole episode at some point. Let's get an expert in to talk about this, because I think we both have a lot to learn.
I feel like you know a lot, but I want to learn more.
But it's not my area of like expertise. I know a little bit, but like barely. So yeah, we'll save that for another episode.
Yeah.
Should we go into a slightly happier place?
Can we
to
please?
End this chat? A little, you know,
Let's talk about the perks of her.
We can have the highs and the lows. That's what this whole thing is about. Okay, let's end this episode in a slightly happier place. Can we talk about our own discovery of the clitoris?
How did you like know that yours done something? Because my mum never told me that mine done something. Do you know how I learned? I was like rubbing on a dining room table. I don't know why I was there or why, maybe I was doing homework or something, and I was like, oh my goodness, that feels so good. And I was just like grinding on the edge of my dining room table. Probably eat my dinner like 2 hours later next to it.
Yeah, I did some grinding as well. I would grind on like the corner of my bed frame and be like, why does this feel really nice? I don't know. But like, yeah, I didn't get taught about it and was just like, I guess there's this thing that I can do that feels nice. And I've like won the lottery, but also felt loads of shame about it before I realised that other people do as well.
But how amazing that first day of discovering. I was a little fiend. After I'd done that once, I was like 12 times a day. Mum was like, Meg, dinner's ready. Meg, you've got school. I was like, don't mind me, just dry humping every like surface in my room.
Well, it's so important to talk talk about though, because I think so many of us have experiences of that, but in like when you're raised as a woman and like a girl, that's not seen as like acceptable in the same way that it is for boys to like explore pleasure a bit more.
It's so true. Like you see in so many like American films, like the guy's like having his first wank or losing his virginity, and it's so like hilarious. But have you ever seen a girl do it?
No.
But I remember I used to have one of them bunk beds where it's like the pull-out chair and the little ladders. I used to get so gassed to climb up them stairs, lay the pillow down and ride him like my life depended on it. I was like,
I love that, babe.
Tell me some of your first story.
Did you ever watch Sugar Rush?
Wasn't it on like Channel 4?
It was on Channel 4. It's amazing. It's
Did
worth
it have
a rewatch.
a mixed race girl as a main character?
Yeah, like two main characters. One of them was, yeah.
I feel like fancied it.
Oh yeah, everyone in that show is very fanciable, and like young closeted queer babe, me watching it being like, why am I so obsessed? But the first scene is her masturbating with an electric toothbrush, and I was like, oh, I like the sound of that. And so I convinced my mum, I just had like a normal toothbrush, and then I like asked my mum if she could buy me an electric toothbrush, and then I went to a sleepover and was like, oh no, I left it at their house, I've lost it. And I could like keep it in my, like under my pillow or in my bedside table, being like, okay,
that's
me
so
and the
smart.
toothbrush. Tricksy, huh?
So good.
Yeah. But in terms of like exploring your clitoris, if there's people who are listening who've maybe just like taken it for granted a bit, or have like shame and feel really nervous about that part of their body, OMG Yes is a really amazing website. If you've not heard of it before, they do loads of research around like pleasure, and particularly like clitoral pleasure. And so if you're looking for like specific techniques and things to try, that's a really good place to go. And just being curious. As adults, if you like have an awareness of your body and you know what feels good, we can sometimes get into a bit of a rut of doing like the same thing, just going for the same like hand movements or toy or whatever. And so challenging yourself to try new things, and not in like a dorky way. I mean, it is a bit, but like for fun, of going, what if I touch myself in this way, or what if I change the pressure, or what, you know, all of this different stuff.
That's so true.
It teaches you a lot about yourself.
Because that's what you do. Like I was saying, like no one told me about the clit. Like when I was younger, I just like learned about that myself, and then we'll just start like experimenting, feeling like, oh, this is good, this is good. But I guess, like you say, when you get into an adult and you start dating partners and you're in like relationships, you're like, I know what works. I know this is hot. I know what I like to do to them for me to get off. What they do for me to get off, vice versa. But you don't. Well, I don't personally like push the boundaries, but I should. Like when I was young, I used to do mad shit and be like, oh my God, this is so cool.
Let's bring back the mad shit, baby.
Facts.
All right. Well, that is our friend the clitoris. Like some really heavy stuff, but also education. Babe, how are you feeling about the clitoris now?
I think you've actually cured me of my weird little thing of not saying clitoris.
Yeah.
Like, listen to me. It just rolls off the tongue. Clitoris.
Clitoris.
Oh my God. Clitoris everywhere. Clitoris. Put it in my mouth. No, I'm joking.
I'm not. Okay, my work here is done. If you feel more confident to say clitoris, then great.
Thank
Listeners,
you.
if you've got like specific questions about anatomy and stuff, then do send them in, because any excuse to like scrub up on my knowledge and look at things, or also if there's certain things you want us to talk about and we can get like an expert in, let us know. So that email is hello@insandoutspod.com, and until next time.
Yeah. Thank you so much, guys.
Mwah. Lots of love, babes. Bye.
Bye.